What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NFL Turf Talk. I'm your host at Scotty Drown, is where you can find me on social media, including X, Instagram, and TikTok. And of course, NFL Turf Talk is brought to you by DSM Media, which you can certainly find right there. That's going to be good, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Turn the volume down there. Got that on playback, making sure everything's going smooth there. My apologies if you did hear that. My apologies for my voice today as well. I'm very, very congested. I don't know if it's allergies. I don't know if I'm starting to get sick. If I pick something up over the New Year break or something, but yeah, just not feeling 100% right now. And you can probably tell by my voice. My nose is all stuffed and cannot stop sneezing. So if I have to mute, you see me sneeze. That's what's going on today. I don't know what is happening. Not used to having allergies this time of year, really. So it is interesting from that perspective. But happy New Year, everyone. Let's just start there. Spread the good joy. Let's start the year right. I know we're on January 2nd. Yesterday was technically the first day of 2026. Hope you guys enjoyed a day off of work, hopefully. And hopefully you got to spend some time with loved ones, friends, family, and just a good way to bring in the new year, of course. I know I did. I got to spend some time with some good friends, Nat and Parcero. Shout out to them. My wife and I, we hung out with them over the break and, had some drinks yesterday. So maybe that's why I'm down and out and a little sick today as well. But nonetheless, guys, we are going to start the show. We're going to recap week 17. Obviously, that's the title of the show. But most of the show is going to talk about playoff picture. We're going to talk about the Saturday matchups for tomorrow. Obviously, two huge games on Saturday that are going to determine playoff spots. And then what we will ultimately we'll do after that. I'll be back on Sunday with Dylan. We'll do our regular Sunday show and we'll cover the whole Sunday slate. And we do have some fun things planned for Sunday as well. Just it being the end of season, start thinking about season-long awards, disappointing teams, different things like that. So we're going to come up with some very creative segments to get into on Sunday because there's not going to be a lot of X's and O's when you got a lot of backups that are going to be playing on Sunday this weekend. So we will get into that on Sunday, but just to start the show here to kind of recap, seal the deal on week 17 of this NFL regular season, let's start with power rankings. We can go through the power rankings. I'll give you my top 10. That'll ultimately, kind of lay out what took place over the last week, what mattered, any playoff switches. And then we'll take a look at the playoff picture for each conference and kind of go through there, look at scenarios that we're looking at going into this weekend. And it is an interesting spot to be in at this point in the season. You start to see all of these records, man. I mean, there's 6, 11, and 5 teams that I was able to put on my top 10 power rankings, and it's quite frankly hard to decide which is the best of that group. It's hard to decide who has the best team in the NFL right now for my money. So I'll start at the bottom. I'll start at the bottom because I think the top is more interesting just for that reason. There's a lot of parity. There isn't a lot of assurances. There isn't a lot of facts when it comes to ranking these teams right now because a lot of these teams have played each other, and it's a mixed bag of who's beat who. So it is interesting. HP tapping in. Appreciate you. The Tide had to die so the birds could fly. Yeah, my man HP, I know you're a Bama guy. I know that's obviously, where you picked up the love for Jalen Hurts. So I'm sorry. They got done dirty. I think it was 38-3 against Indiana in that college football playoff matchup. So that was interesting to see Bama go down like that. I did not expect them to go down like that. And I know we texted yesterday, man. And I did sprinkle Bama money line foolishly, I guess, in hopes that maybe they could surprise us just with it being, that household name versus Indiana. But that Indiana defense is just too serious. And Bama got spanked, to say the least. Give me one moment here just while I get this shared out on Twitter. Let me see here. Why is it not popping up? There we go. All right, guys, let's get into power rankings. Ultimately, go ahead and get started here. Sorry, bro, shouldn't let you do that. Yeah, no, it's not your fault, brother. It's just when you see Bama for those odds, I mean, it's hard not to take them just with the household name. But we move. It was just a little bit of a sprinkle, not anything to lose sleep over. Of course, we're gonna start at the bottom. I'm gonna go 10-1, obviously, that way, and we'll talk about some of the matchups that took place in Week 17. So starting at number 10, we had the Chicago Bears. They're obviously 11-5 at this point in the season. They are currently the 2 seed in the NFC right now, even after that most recent loss in San Fran. Now, you look at San Fran, that's another, 11? No, they're 12-4 now, actually. They got another dub, so they moved away from that 11-win mark. But nonetheless, it's not a bad loss ultimately on the road. It was a shootout, right? 38-42. They ended up losing to San Fran. Thought Caleb Williams was pretty decent in this one. There was no defense in this game at all outside of a pick six on Brock Purdy at the beginning of the game. So it was interesting to see the Bears basically just not be able to stop Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy had 5 total touchdowns in this game after the pick six. So it was interesting. The Bears defense definitely concerns me just for their chances moving forward going into the postseason. You can't go out there and give up, 40 plus points on the road to a San Fran team that is fairly beat up to an extent, right? So I don't know. I just was not very impressed. That's why they ultimately drop in the rankings a few spots. I will say this about their defense. They get the pick six at the beginning of the game. I think going into that matchup, they were plus 21 in turnover differential. So that defense, from my perspective, lives and dies on turnovers. And that's the way it's going to go in the postseason. They're going to have to win the turnover battle. They're going to have to turn teams over in order to ultimately get some success. But they're still a growing team, right? Caleb Williams still young. They're still figuring stuff out. We'll see how they're able to finish out the season against the Detroit Lions. Number 9, this was another team that lost this past weekend. The Buffalo Bills, 11-5, one of those 6 11-5 teams that I mentioned, right? They lose at home to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this was not a game to write home about. It was a monsoon going on during this game. The weather was not favorable for points, I guess you could say. But ultimately, I was impressed with the Buffalo Bills defense, to be specific here. They were able to ultimately contain Jalen Hurts. They were able to contain Saquon Barkley. And this is after they've had some big letdowns in big spots against good running backs, right? So to see them be able to shut the Eagles' run game down, that was pretty impressive from the Buffalo side. But then on the other side of things, you got the Eagles, right, who their defense steps up, holds that Buffalo team to 12 points in this game, turns Josh Allen over, twice? No, just once, just the fumble. I think they turned the ball over twice. Maybe it was just on downs. But nonetheless, you do worry, right? When you think about the Buffalo Bills and what are they going to be able to do offensively, say if they run into a Houston Texans team, for example, that has just a ferocious defense. They don't have a number 1 wide receiver. Dalton Kincaid's been beat up the last few weeks. What's he going to look like going into the postseason? So I just obviously don't love their weapons on the outside. I think everybody across the board that analyzes the sport feels that way about the Buffalo Bills. When you have a guy named Shavers making like this immaculate catch in the game, I think that it could be a good thing. Yes, you're getting contributions from a guy named Shavers, but it's probably a bad thing that you're having to rely on these immaculate catches by Brandon Cooks and Shavers, right? Brandon Cooks had a career day, 4 catches, over 100 receiving yards in that game. Made some crazy catches over Quinyon Mitchell, which just doesn't happen often. But Josh Allen, at the end of the day, he will always give his team a chance to win, and he ends this game with 2 straight scoring drives, and they have a chance to win this game ultimately with a 2-point conversion. Wasn't able to seal the deal, misses that throw, and the Eagles go on to win. not a horrible loss, but it is a bad loss at home when you want to kind of solidify yourself as a serious threat going into the postseason. So Buffalo Bills at number 9. Number 8, this team is dangerous going into the postseason. And the team I'm talking about right now is the Houston Texans. Now, I did want to get it pulled up. I just wanted to see how many games in a row they've won. They've won 8 straight games. They're coming off a big win. I believe that was that on Christmas or was that on the Saturday? It might have been the Saturday after Christmas. But nonetheless, they go on the road. They beat the LA Chargers. They shut down Justin Herbert. They're able to take care of business there. CJ Stroud comes out, lighting it up, has 2 long touchdown passes on the first 2 drives of the game for Houston. And then from there, it kind of just everything kind of slowed down. It became a defensive battle, and these teams went back and forth. Ultimately, the Texans come in at number 8. I think they're going to continue to climb as we get into the postseason. And I think they may even be higher on this list once we get in the postseason and frame our power rankings around that. Regular season gets thrown out to an extent once we get to the postseason. You kind of operate with a clean slate. So it'll be interesting to see how the Texans finish this season. They're obviously competing with a Jags team that has won, 7 in a row. So I believe the Jags they're still 1 game ahead of the Texans right now. The Jags finished the season against the Titans, and the Texans finished the season against the Colts. Excuse me, I might have to sneeze. Really hope I'm not getting sick. I don't feel sick. I just feel congested. I'm hoping it's allergies. We'll see how it goes. Let me see the comment here. Houston Texans going to be a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, that defense is serious. Maybe the best defense in the NFL. I think it's up there with the Broncos, the Seahawks. I think the Eagles defense is up there, which brings me to number 7. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. Some may disagree with this. But that's what I was saying with these 11-5 teams. It's hard to measure these teams and stack them against each other. And I'll kind of get into that after I get to number 6, which would be the last 11-5 team on the list. But Eagles 11-5, that once again just talked about the big win in Buffalo against Josh Allen, able to contain him. But it's defense, right? A lot gets talked about with the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, so on and so forth, the offensive weapons and maybe the lack of offensive productivity, right? You only scored 13 points in this game, but the defense is ferocious. The defense has gotten healthier, getting Jalen Carter back in that game. He has a sack. Jalix Hunt has 2 sacks. You have Jalen Phillips getting involved, forcing a fumble out of Josh Allen, getting a turnover, making plays in that regard, and simply holding one of the more explosive offenses in the NFL, led by Josh Allen, led by James Cook, containing them and controlling them and basically setting the tone for this game. And quite frankly, setting the tone going into the postseason. Now, don't get me wrong. You come out of that game offensively, it was disgusting to watch as an Eagles fan. But a win is a win. You got to go out there. You got to find ways to get it done. And I guess the best way for me to put this going into the postseason, I would rather the offense be struggling right now than the defense be struggling going into the postseason. And the reason I say that is because I have a lot more faith, belief, and trust in the talent on the offensive side of things compared to the defense. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some names on that defense that are dogs, but there's a lot of youth on that defense as well. And I don't think defense was the strong suit that we were eyeing out of Philadelphia coming into this season. So I will take the defense playing as a top 5 unit right now. We'll just hope and pray that offense catches up come postseason. And I do think it will, quite honestly. Last, number 6. Thank you. Appreciate it. And yes, Coupe de Jean, beast, all over the field. Him and Zach Bond just all over the field. Marcus Epps as well, another guy that was all over the field in that Buffalo game. Yeah, that's the Tom Brady Award, right? Tom Brady love him some cool. Tom Brady loves the birds. He loves him some Jalen Hurts. Tom Brady, I like having him on the broadcast because he does. He gives us some love. But nonetheless, coming in at number 6, we have the last 11-5 team that's going to be mentioned in the top 10. We're going to talk about the whole group of the 6 here in a second. But the Rams, 11-5, they're coming off a bad loss to the Atlanta Falcons on the road, right? But they allow Bijan Robinson to do what? Go for over 200 rushing yards in that game. Had a 93-yard rush, which was just ridiculous. He was unstoppable in that game. And mind you, my wife was in a fantasy championship going against Bijan Robinson in that game, and she was up by a ton of points. It ended up being a nail biter. She did win. But Bijan, a monster, seriously, in that game. But on the Rams side of things, it was a concern seeing them get ran all over like that. It was a concern seeing the offense struggle a little bit without Devontae Adams on the outside. So that's why they drop a little bit here to number 6. But I did just want to point out there is one more 11-5 team that did not make the list, and that's the LA Chargers. They obviously are coming off the big loss to the Houston Texans at home. It's not that loss was like just this terrible loss. It's not that. It's more that Justin Herbert isn't healthy, and you need to separate yourself from this group. You need to be able to stack up W's against good teams, right, if you're the Chargers. So I just like the other 5 11-5 teams over the Chargers right now, but there's an argument that they could be made to get them in the top 10, of course, depending on how you view these 6 11-5 teams. So looking at the 6 11-5 teams, right, I have it written down. A couple of these teams have played each other, right, and you just start to think, like, who's the best of the 11-5? So you look at the Eagles. The Eagles have beat the Rams and the Bills, who are 11-5 as well, right? So maybe you could argue that the Eagles are better than I'm not going out that far and saying the Eagles are better than the Rams. Obviously, the Rams are ahead of the Eagles right now, but that was fairly early in the season. The Eagles were able to beat them. They were able to beat the Bills this past week. Obviously, Bears beat the Eagles on Black Friday. So does that make the Bears better than the Eagles, or like how does that work? They did beat the Eagles in Philadelphia on Black Friday, which was a huge W for them, maybe their best W all season. The Chargers beat the Eagles in LA, right? Jalen Hurts turns the ball over 5 times in that game. So Chargers better than you? I mean, you could argue it, right? It just happened, what, 2-3 weeks ago? Excuse me. Now the nose is running. Then you look at the Texans. Obviously, the Texans just beat the LA Chargers. They also, just a few weeks back, beat the Buffalo Bills. And then finally, the Rams are the only team that has beaten the Houston Texans then. So basically what I'm saying is, like, all of these 11-5 teams have lost to one of the other 11-5 teams. So how do you measure out and decide who's the best of the best? For me, I'm just, as we head into the postseason, I'm going with postseason experience, right? That's the Rams and the Eagles in the NFC for me. And then I'm going with defensive prowess, and that's the Texans. So that's why you see those 3 teams lead the way from the 11-5 group for me. But you can argue these guys all up and down the list, man. So let's go to number 5. Let's get to the top 5. We'll go through this pretty quickly, but I do think some of these are interesting. Number 5, we got the Jags. I mentioned them earlier. They're on a 7-game win streak right now. They're coming off a big W against the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, Phillip Rivers wasn't able to get the dub there. They beat the Colts 23-17. Excuse me. Trevor Lawrence has been playing outstanding. I'm interested to see him in the postseason. I'm very intrigued to see what Trevor Lawrence looks like in the postseason. And I think, I've mentioned defense throughout this show so far, and, mentioning some of these other teams. The Jags have a serious defense as well. They get a lot of turnovers. They get after the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how the Jags fare in the postseason, but they are a top 5 team for my money right now. Number 4, I've got the San Francisco 49ers. They're 12-4. Terry, shout out the Niners. Bless you. They come in at number 4. They've got a huge matchup, obviously, coming into this weekend where they could potentially win the NFC West, right, against the Seattle Seahawks. But for now, they come in at number 4 after the big W against the Chicago Bears at home to put up 42 points. Brock Purdy playing the level that he's playing at right now in the Kyle Shanahan offense. It was pretty impressive to watch. Now, I will say, giving up 38 points, you did have the pick six included in that. So defense giving up 31 points, not a great look. Their defense is beat up. You don't have Bosa, you don't have Warner. You're missing quite a few guys on that end of things. So it is a bit of a concern going into the postseason. But I will say that offense is rolling right now. That's a great point, Terry. It's going to come down to that secondary. They're going to have to make some plays. But we'll see how they fare against the Seahawks this weekend, right? Number 3, we're going to go over to the AFC. We're going to go with the New England Patriots. They're coming off a 42-10 win over the New York Jets. They have locked in. They're going to win the AFC East with the Bills losing to the Eagles as well over the past weekend. So Patriots are locked in. They bounce back after, 2 tough losses and, one tough loss. It was just to the Bills, but they bounce back nonetheless. They get the win against the Ravens last week, and then you go out here and dismantle the bad New York Jets, right? So like what the Patriots are doing, Mike Vrabel's got those guys rolling. Defense plays really well. Drake May playing at an MVP level. Like what the Patriots are doing. Number 2. This is where it gets tough. Well, it's been tough. The whole list is tough. I say this is where it gets tough. It was all tough trying to decide where these teams fall. Ultimately, I went number 2 with the Denver Broncos at 13-3. They're coming off the 20-13 win against Kansas City. I believe that was on Christmas Day, part of that miserable slate on Christmas Day. Broncos defense is for real, and I've said this before. Bo Nix is such a wild card. And I mean that it can be good or bad, right? Like, that's a wild card. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get. You could get Bo Nix 3 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, right? 300 passing yards. You could get Bo Nix 2 rushing touchdowns, 150 passing yards, maybe 1. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get with Bo Nix. Now, I am interested to see, obviously, this will be his second playoff stint. Will he be able to lock in and kind of keep his consistent play from the regular season, right? I say up and down, you don't know what you're going to get. Let's get a little bit more consistent as we get into the playoffs and really see what they can do. But that defense is serious in Denver, and I'm interested to see what they can do. They should get the 1 seed in the AFC, right? Just wondering if that's locked in. Yes, I guess they got the same record as the Patriots, and they play the Chargers to end the season, which the Chargers don't have a chance at winning that division, so they should be resting Justin Herbert. So we'll see what happens with the Broncos. They should take care of business, win the AFC, and win the division. Win the AFC regular season was what I'm saying there. Number 1. This is interesting. Like, it doesn't feel like they're the number 1 team, if I'm being completely honest. The Seattle Seahawks is who I went with here, 13-3. 27-10 win over the Carolina Panthers in a must-win spot for the Carolina Panthers. So they took care of business there, strapped that Panthers team down, and that's where I go to, that defense. That defense is for real. And just as I mentioned with some of these other teams in the top 10, I think they are hoisting arguably top 3 unit, right? I've said like 5 or 6 teams with a top 5 defensive unit. We're going to have to make some decisions here when it comes to defensive ratings. But yeah, no, I think the Seahawks are in that group. Sam Darnold has played at a much, much higher level this season. He's been a lot more consistent. You do have that just inkling of concern with Sam Darnold going into the postseason. Of course, you just never know what you could get from that guy, especially in a big spot or a tough spot. So we'll see. But I like what the Seahawks are doing. They're matching the ground game with the defensive game, and they're kind of solidifying that as their identity. And then you also have a go-to receiver in JSN that leads the league in receiving yards and can always get open. So I like what the Seahawks are doing. But once again, they're like number 1 team by default, I guess. Like, it's not that I actually think they're the best team in the NFL, but their resume, if they win the NFC West, you kind of look like the best team in the NFL. So yeah, I don't know. It was hard for me to put the Broncos up there. Obviously, the Broncos they bounced back. Let me just see here. Broncos beat the Chiefs after the loss to the Jags. So you lost to the Jags at home. You bounced back. Didn't want to penalize them for that too much, especially after the bounce back. But I think I would take Seattle's offense over Denver's offense right now. Do I take Sam Darnold over Bo Nix, though? I don't know. Who do I trust more out of Sam Darnold and Bo Nix? I think Bo Nix, honestly. I think, just off the top of my head, I would probably go with Bo Nix. But no, Seahawks round out the top 10. There's just a lot of parity this year. I don't know who. I'm actually interested. What are the odds looking like to win the Super Bowl? Let's take a look real quick. Take a look on DraftKings. Just want to see who the books are feeling right now. Wild card. There we go. Super Bowl. Ah, okay. So the Seahawks are actually the favorite right now, according to DraftKings. Seahawks plus 500 to win the Super Bowl. The LA Rams plus 550. Denver Broncos plus 700. 49ers plus 800. And the Patriots plus 850. And then you get to the Eagles at plus 1,000. That would be your top six. Got the Bills, Jags, Texans, Ravens from there. Ravens? What? Ravens? Ravens over the Steelers though. So they the books got the Ravens winning that one. To win the conference, Denver is the favorite, and then obviously Seattle's the favorite in the NFC. So interesting. I guess the books agree with me as well. Like the Seattle Seahawks look like the best team as we approach the postseason. Oh, we got a Bronco fan. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm actually interested, man. Bo Nix, how have you felt this season watching Bo Nix? I actually like Bo Nix. He just has these stinkers every once in a while, but I don't. Now that we're talking about it, I think I'm clearing Bo Nix over Sam Darnold. I'm taking Bo Nix all day. I don't trust Sam Darnold at all. Like I know I just I hyped up the Seahawks, all of that. The Seahawks could lose this weekend against San Fran, lose the division, fall out of the 1 seed, and then all of a sudden San Fran's the favorite. So as much as I've hyped up the Seahawks, there's a big spot for Sam Darnold this weekend. The Seahawks outscored their openers, something crazy I saw from the year. Seahawks just score points. It's fair. Yeah, they do score a good amount of points. I'm actually curious where they rank. I can look that up real quick. Yeah, it's all good. Let's just take a quick look at the playoff picture as we move away from the power rankings, though. Over in the AFC, obviously, we got the Denver Broncos, who I just mentioned as the number 1 seed, 13-3. New England Patriots, 13-3 at the 2 seed. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars, 12-4. This is where it gets interesting. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, 9-7. Division still up for grabs with the Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-8. Number 5 seed is going to be the Houston Texans at 11-5. They're the first wild card squad. Number 6, we got the LA Chargers at 11-5, and then the last seed in is going to be the Buffalo Bills at 11-5 as well. Warren says the Seahawks are some doo-doo. Interesting. So do you have the Seahawks losing this weekend, Mr. Rams? I'm curious. Hey, bro, welcome to Eagles fandom. Like this literally is like the outline of being an Eagles fan. And I'm not putting Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is like developing. It's not like that. It's just like getting gaslit on what Jalen Hurts is as a quarterback. That's kind of what I mean there. But yeah, no, super team. Defense is really good. I'm not calling the Broncos frauds by any means, though. Frauds in the AFC? Like the Patriots, in my opinion, are closer to being frauds in the AFC than the Broncos. The Broncos have actually beat some really good teams. They've actually proved themselves, especially as a defensive unit. So I don't know. In the AFC, I was gonna say the Jags, but the Jags did just beat the Denver Broncos in Denver by double digits. So it is hard to say you would trust the Broncos over the Jags, but it's Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. You just never know. You know what I'm realizing as I'm talking through this? I think the Texans are my number 2 team in the AFC. Obviously, they're not going to get the number 2 seed, but I think they might be. I don't want to say the second best team, but they might be the team I trust second to the Broncos, if that makes sense. Seahawks are second in scoring, averaging 29 points per game. Man, it's just wild how Sam Darnold can like put these numbers up in regular season. And then, I mean, you guys remember what happened in the postseason last year with Minnesota, right? Lawrence does have the Niners winning. Is that in Seattle or is it in San Fran? Why do I not know that already? And that is on Saturday. It's in San Fran, actually. I have that written down. Dumb asking questions I have written down. I mean, Texans have won playoff games back-to-back years. Yeah, defense at the end of the day. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. When you really think about it, what the Texans have done the last few years, that kind of slips my mind. So when you say the Texans have won back-to-back years, I do remember, was it Justin Herbert game last year, or did the Texans beat the Broncos last year in the playoffs? Or am I remembering that incorrectly? Can't remember. Was that the Herbert meltdown last year, or was that the postseason before that? I think I might be getting those two postseasons mixed up, but I know Chargers were one of those playoff wins for the Texans, nonetheless. But yeah, no, the Texans are dangerous. That defense is for real. Bills beat the Broncos. Texans beat the Chargers. Okay, so that was last year. The Bills beat the Broncos. Interesting enough. How do you feel about that matchup this year with the Bills if that were to happen? You guys are the 1 seed, so you're going to have a bye week. Bills will probably get the Pats. 49ers going to sweep them this year. Hey, I mean, it could happen. I am curious if the Seahawks do lose, would the Rams be under them if they win or above them? If you know, Lawrence, I'm just curious because I think that kind of decides. It doesn't seem like the Eagles are going for the 2 seed in the NFC, which just give an overview really quick. You got number 1 Seattle 13-3. You got the Chicago Bears 2 seed 11-5. Eagles 3 seed 11-5. Carolina Panthers 8-8. San Fran 12-4. Rams 11-5. Green Bay 9-6-1. Caveat being Carolina and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 7-9. There's a scenario where Tampa Bay can ultimately get into the postseason this year still. Then you look at the Eagles, who I just mentioned, doesn't seem like they're going to go for the 2 seed. Tanner McKee is going to start this weekend. So it's not to say they can't beat the Commanders with Tanner McKee and the backups in. Like I think they will ultimately beat the Commanders still. But it is interesting to just see that it's not a priority. Health is the main priority for the Eagles moving forward, which makes sense to me ultimately. But no, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because if the Eagles do stay at the 3 seed, you're looking at a matchup with what? The LA Rams, 49ers, or the Seahawks, one of those NFC West teams. So I'm curious. We're playing the Eagles if we stay at 3. Okay. Give the people what they want, man. Like, give the people what they want. For my money, 2 best teams in the NFC playing. That's my money, I do think the Rams are still the class of the NFC. Definitely going to need Devontae Adams to come back, get healthy, though. I think that's a big piece missing right now. If Seahawks lose, they will be 5 and the Rams 6. Makes sense. I feel better that it would be Denver as opposed to in Buffalo. Bo Nix looked like the only player on that field that wanted to win last year. Bo Nix damn near had 100 QBR while losing 30-7. That is insane. But yeah, to your point, I think completely different ball game this year. I think you get Bo Nix, he's 1 year older, right? Like, it's 1 year with 1 year more of experience for Bo Nix going into a postseason game. And then when you say he wasn't even really the issue in that postseason loss last year, you shouldn't have too much to worry about with him. And then on the other side of the ball, that defense is for real. So, yeah, I feel you. I would be very confident if I was a Broncos fan going into the postseason right now. Just looking at the parity, like, no Mahomes. Thank you. If I'm, a Broncos fan, if I'm a Texans fan, if I'm a Chargers fan, whoever you're a fan of in the AFC outside of the fucking Chiefs, I would just be really happy to not see Mahomes there. Then you think about you might not see Lamar in the playoffs either. I think the AFC is wide open. I think that's a good thing for the Broncos ultimately. But let's move to Saturday, and then I'm going to get out of here. My nose is just all stuffed up. I apologize, guys, if it sounds horrible. Just all congested. Got it manifest. It's allergies. It's not. I'm not sick. I'm not getting sick. I'm not getting sick. Manifest. See a couple of these comments here. Eagles are the team to beat. Defense going to dominate all yachts long. Yeah, no, I feel you. Defense. We know what defense does. It wins championships for sure. AJ, Smitty, Barkley, and Jalen going to lock in. Same with the OL. Yeah, you got to believe that, right? As an Eagles fan, you have to believe that. We get all of our players back in the postseason. We have 5 starters that were held out last 2 weeks. Yeah, I know you had a couple offensive linemen out against Atlanta as well, which Matthew Stafford was getting sacked to hell and back. But, yeah, that makes sense, though, Remy. Yeah, getting healthy at the right time. Appreciate that. Giving me some of that confidence back. Yeah, hey, Warriors, if that matchup happens again, bro, you guys have to win. You cannot lose. What would that be? Like the 4th loss in a row to the Eagles specifically? That would be back-to-back postseasons outed by the Eagles in the postseason. You guys coming to Philadelphia and you doing that? No. We'll talk about it when the time comes, bro. We don't got to get into that just not too soon, not to jump the gun here. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles get the 2 seed. Maybe the Lions beat the Bears, and maybe the Eagles still beat the Commanders, and the Eagles get the 2 seed. Who knows? But let's talk about these games on Saturday. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I'll be back on Sunday morning to recap those games ultimately, and then we'll get into the Sunday slate and have some fun segments on Sunday. Y'all will be named McVay's kryptonite. Yeah, that it is interesting. Sometimes that's just how it plays out, though, right? It just plays out that way sometimes, but we'll see. Rams are a good team. I'm not sleeping on them. Y'all got to win first. That's facts. I love to end pretty fingers. You want to end Caleb, huh? Talking about Caleb Williams. You want to end that run? Is that what we're saying? I'm just guessing pretty fingers. Like that's the giveaway for me. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But guys, Saturday, we've got the Carolina Panthers 8-8. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-9, squaring off for the NFC South title, right? That last NFC spot in the postseason. You look at this game, the last I checked, let's see the updated numbers because I did do my notes a few days ago. See if the line moved at all. No, not much. So looks like the Buccaneers are still about 2.5, 3-point favorites in this one. They are at home. The over-under set at 43.5. Yep. Still there. You do have Dowdle, who's questionable for Carolina going into this one. You've got Baker and Tristan Wirfs questionable for the Bucs. They're going to play. It's a must-win game, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, you did just have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose to Carolina in week 16, 23-20. Now, obviously, it was in Carolina. They took care of business. Now, if you're the Bucs, you need to come back home and take care of business yourself. In that loss to Carolina, you look at Baker Mayfield, man. 18 for 26 from the field, 145 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception to end the game to seal it. And I believe he did that again this past weekend. Was it against the Dolphins? Through a game-ending interception, nonetheless. Excuse me. Nonetheless, though, I guess what I'm trying to say here regarding Baker Mayfield is, when are we going to accept that he's not having a good season? When are we going to accept that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a good football team this season? Now, they've been beat up. They've had a ton of injuries, of course. Baker's been a bit beat up. But they just haven't been able to win games that they've needed to win. I kind of view the Bucs in that same light as the Baltimore Ravens, in a sense, in the AFC. Ravens trying to sneak into the postseason, right? Win their division and get in by the skin of their teeth. I view the Bucs in that same light as, like, you just had an opportunity to beat the Panthers in Carolina and take a stronghold of the division. You had a chance in New Orleans to get a win and take a stronghold of the division. They haven't been able to do it, especially in these big spots recently. On top of needing the win, Tampa Bay also needs Atlanta to lose in order to win the NFC South. So from my understanding, if Tampa Bay wins and Atlanta wins, it would be a 3-way tie for the division lead. And then somehow, I think from my understanding, somehow the Panthers would ultimately be the team out of the 3 that makes the playoffs. The Bucs need some help along with the W, right? So we'll see what they're able to do. I'm going to go out on a limb here, man. And I think it's more of me just wanting it to happen. I'm not putting money on this game from a spread perspective or from a money line perspective. I'll find some props to have fun with, but I'm going with Carolina, man. And it's one of those manifest things. I want to see Bryce Young in the postseason. Just want to see a new team in the NFC in the postseason. It's as simple as that. I do think the Carolina Panthers defense is for real. I do think they have some young talent on offense that has room to grow, right? Main example being Bryce Young. I'm thinking the Panthers, man. But it's more just because I'm expecting Tampa Bay to once again not show up in a big spot this season because they're just not a good football team this year. So I'll go with the Panthers in this one. I'll go with the upset. Panthers lock up the division, win the NFC South. That would just be crazy to me. I don't know about you guys. Would that be the most surprising? Probably not. I guess it ultimately depends how you view the Patriots. Like, did that surprise you that they had a good season, given their weak schedule? I think the surprising part would be them winning their division, of course, right? Like winning the division over the Buffalo Bills. But I don't know. That's maybe a segment for Sunday. Most surprising team, most disappointing team of the season. We'll have to get into all of that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina Panthers surprise win NFC South on Saturday. And then Saturday evening, we have the game that we were just discussing. I'm not going to get too much into that. We just talked about it when going over the playoff scenarios. It's a must-win game, right? Seattle versus San Fran for the NFC West. You got the 13-3 Seattle Seahawks visiting the 12-4 San Francisco 49ers. Looks like the Seahawks are actually favored on the road. Seattle's favored by -1.5. The over-under set at 49.5. You've got George Kittle, you got Ricky Pearsall, you've got Trent Williams, all questionable game time decisions for the San Francisco 49ers. I imagine Kittle is going to play. I'm not sure what's going on with Trent Williams, but he's obviously very important to their offensive line. I would imagine he's going to give it a go if he can. But those are obviously very important pieces, especially to that offense, in order to do what they're going to look to do against the Seattle team. The big thing for me will be Sam Darnold in a big spot against a team that does have a little bit more experience right now. You talk about the San Francisco 49ers that were just in the Super Bowl 2-3 seasons ago. This team, Kyle Shanahan, they have experience in big games. Sam Darnold, are you going to come out and turn the ball over this weekend? Brock Purdy's playing some pretty good football right now. Outside of that pick six to start the game against Chicago, he was lights out. 5 touchdowns in that game, 2 rushing, 3 passing. It's funny, man. It's funny because I made these notes. Give you a little bit of transparency. Dylan and I were going to do the show on Wednesday. We decided to push it back, push it to Friday. He ended up not being able to make it due to some issues with his laptop. But I originally on Wednesday picked the Seattle Seahawks. I circled them on my sheet here. I don't know. I think you guys are getting to me. I think that's what it is. I think Warrens and Terry are getting to me. So Trent Williams is dealing with a hammy. That's not good, obviously. But we'll see what happens with him. I think I'm going to go San Fran at home. I think it just makes sense. I think San Fran will be the more fun 1 seed, if that makes sense. But I think I do. I think I like Brock Purdy. I like CMC at home to take care of business. And, it's just kind of what Warrens, Terry, what you guys have said in the comments. It kind of sticks with me. Like, at the end of the day, it is Sam Darnold in a big spot. It's interesting. It's an interesting game. These are lights out matchups. I'm excited for Saturday. Yeah, my original reasoning for picking Seattle, I wrote down, I think I like Seattle's defense to hold up enough. San Francisco's offense is rolling. San Francisco's defensive injuries will be too much. Let me bring myself back here because I do have some numbers that kind of support that. They obviously just gave up 38 points to the Chicago Bears. They did that in San Fran as well. They gave up 27 points to Phillip Rivers in the Indianapolis Colts the week before. And they gave up 24 to rookie Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans the week before that. So I do wonder, you mentioned it early, Terry, the young secondary that you're operating with back there. Are they going to be able to do their part? This one's a toss-up. I'm going to switch back. I'm going to go with my original thought. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm hoping it jinx in reverse for you, Terry, and the San Francisco 49ers get the W. But I think I just like that Seattle defense, even on the road, to hold up. Knock on wood. Sam Darnold's not going to have a meltdown, right? That is the only thing that makes me want to pick the 49ers is Sam Darnold. That's it. But I'm going to go with Seattle just given the health right now. It's interesting. We got some good games for tomorrow, guys. That is all I have for you guys on this episode of NFL Turf Talk. I appreciate you guys hanging in here with me. We're getting out of the new year slump. I don't know if I'm hungover. I don't know if I'm sick, whatever it is, but not feeling the greatest. So I appreciate you guys hanging in with me here. If my voice is a little misconstrued or congested, I should hopefully be back to normal by Sunday morning. But nonetheless, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so on the NFL Turf Talk YouTube channel. Subscribe, turn the notifications on so you're notified when we go live on Sunday. Dylan will be back with me to co-host on that episode. Like I said, we'll have some fun segments. We'll recap Saturday's action. We'll get into Sunday's action, and we'll close out this regular season the right way on Turf Talk. But guys, do me a favor, head over to the DSM Media X. Follow us there at DSM_media. You'll also get all updates from our Twitter channel, our Twitter feed. So see you guys next time, and Happy New Year, everybody. Cheers.